Welcome to the Rundown. I'm your host, Philip Dukes, aka DukesTheScoop, joined by my co-host, Justin Adams of everywhere. Justin Adams worldwide. Hey, we're glad to have you here. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Got a lot of surprises. Justin has some new projects, so we can get into that right now. Justin, what's going on in your world?
Man, you know I'm always on the grind. First of all, let me give a shout out to the Pac-12. I know it's really the Pac-2 right now, but the
Right?
Pac-12 coming back with some more teams. Colorado State, a team that obviously we have a lot of history with when we talk about the Buffs. They're going to go from the Mountain West to the Pac-12 next year. They just added 8 teams. So I used to do some games with the Pac-12. Now they're going to come back. So it's good to be able to see them doing their thing. Really excited for them next season. Obviously on TV with CBS Colorado as a reporter and anchor and doing play-by-play, as always, with the Mountain West Network, Altitude Sports and Entertainment. And we just go continue to grind. So we pushing, always looking for different opportunities in these streets. So it's a blessing.
Man, Justin. So we know you got everything for everybody else. When can we go find you? When is it gonna be time that we could jump on YouTube and say, I want to go get some Justin Adams, just Justin Adams? When is that channel coming?
Man, we're going to do it ASAP. I'm
Okay.
working on Monday to be able to go and jump on and get my own channel going. Look at that Justin Adams podcast. You know, I see Colin Cowherd and all these other guys. They have their own name and their own podcast. I'm going to jump in with my own. So Justin Adams podcast, we're going to give you some great insight. And you know what? To be honest, in the biz, I know a lot of people, especially within Colorado, from whether it's politicians, athletes. And so we're just going to go and see if we can have them all on the channel. Got some great friends as well. But if nothing else, I'm always going to give you a wonderful opinion just about everything within Colorado sports. Come from the heart and be very honest with it. Look, I'm a native. I'm from Denver. I'm a Buff as well, play for the Buffs. So I bleed black and gold, and I'm going to give you the best all the time.
Oh man, that's an excellent promo. You could have been a pro wrestler too, dog. So that would have been a great you great on the mic. All right,
Yes.
so we're fresh off of Big 12 Media Days. Coach Prime makes his return. Looks good. The good old Coach Prime, the same Coach Prime that we know. He's on brand, really smart, has some really pointed opinions, and he was able to have some fun. What did you take away from his? And I want to it almost I wouldn't say performance because he was just being himself. But what
Mhm.
would you take away from his appearance at Big 12 Media Days, and how do you think that's going to shape the season?
Yeah, number one, it was just great to see him. Let's just
Mhm.
get that there. It was great to see him, and great to see him. I don't want to say in character, but more so back to himself as an individual who understands marketing. He
Mhm.
understands being able to go and talk to people. You know, my favorite part was actually, Caden Salter was doing an interview, and he was doing an interview with ESPN. And Prime came by, and after the first question, he came by, said a couple of things, to Caden right behind him. But you can just see like the life really being back in him. And obviously, we have the well-off videos and have all these other different things to be able to see him on his compound. But to be able to see Coach Prime amongst other media members with guys like Jordan Seaton and all these other players who came along with him, to be able to see him out there was a true blessing as well. And you can't walk away from Coach Prime without seeing some sort of a controversy. And so for him to be talking about it, saying, hey, look, there needs to be a salary cap. Everybody went up in arms and saying, what do you mean there needs to be a salary cap? But you know what? He's not off when he's talking about that, because that's going to be something that will be an issue if you want to have any sort of collective balance within college football.
Do you think a salary cap is good for college football? Like, so when you say collective balance, is it needed? Do we need that type of parity, or is college football better when you have the powerhouse programs? Colorado is positioned to be a powerhouse in the Big 12. They literally have the facilities, the name recognition, the marketing in order to be a juggernaut when it comes to recruiting. Do you think that's good for college football, or do you think parity is needed?
I think it's great for college football. And let's put it this way: programs that are great will always be great, and they will find different ways to remain great. You could talk
Mm.
about Alabama, you could talk about, Oklahoma, Texas, right? You could talk about, Southern Cal, USC, all these other different programs. They will find ways how to be able to be those dominant programs through their marketing, through their tradition, through who they are. But there's one thing that college football has that the NFL doesn't have. I could go to Montana and I could watch the Grizzlies, right? The Montana Grizzlies are out there. And I could
Mhm.
go on a Saturday and watch 50,000 people watch the Grizzlies play football. You won't find 50,000 people watch the NFL in Montana. You know what I mean? Like you won't
Right.
find 50,000 people coming down and say, "Oh, let's go to Denver and watch a game," right?
Right.
Because you don't have that many people. The one thing that college football has over the NFL is that you can go anywhere in the country and literally everyone in that community, in that city, in that state can go and watch a game. So when you talk about having some sort of collective balance, that's what really helps out. And you know, it also helps out with TV deals throughout down the line in the future, right? I know you're making billions of dollars right now, but can you imagine if everyone truly has some sort of a shot to really be able to go win the championship? Again, don't get it twisted. The programs that are always going to be those powerhouse programs will find a way to be there. But to be able to have some sort of salary cap, some sort of um, just some sort of balance within college football. You talked about parity. To have something along those lines would be able to go and help out everyone. So I think that's the biggest thing. Obviously, that I would love to see in college football. It's not taking money out of the hands out of these young men who are playing sports, but it would just be a great opportunity to be able to say, "Hey, this is a level playing field. This will give everybody a chance to do so." But kids are going to pick where they want to go, no matter what.
Just to pivot just a tad bit, watching Coach Prime when he made his entrance into Big 12 Media Days, if you watched us on the morning run, if you saw myself, Uncle Neely, and Big Dog Chico, you saw behind the scenes footage of Coach Prime when he actually entered into the to the conference. You saw Michael Irvin with him.
Mm.
I want to talk about the camaraderie that football provides. When you talk about lifelong friends, somebody who's been in a Division I locker room, a Power Five, Power Four locker room, talk about the relationships that you build on that battlefield and how they help you out along the way. Just kind of and this idea being sparked by the relationship that Coach Prime and Michael Irvin still have.
So I haven't played football in 20 years. And or no, it's just about 20 years. And so I'm 39 now. So I would say it's been about maybe 18, 17 years, somewhere around there. And there are guys that I see all the time where the number one thing that we go back to is we really check on each other to see just how you're doing.
Mm,
I could just tell you about different guys who, now we're in different phases of our life. Now we all have families, we're married. And the first thing we go to is, hey man, how are you doing overall? I remember George Hippolyte. So he played D tackle for the Buffs. And the
mhm,
number one thing that he asked me, he said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And so I'm thinking, like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I'm doing fine. And this is what I'm doing in my career. And he said, no, no, no. Physically, how are you doing? How's your head?
mm.
Man? How's your back doing? How are you doing physically? Like, is there anything going on? And I'm like, no, I'm doing good. Man, I got some knee issues every so often, but I'm really good. He says, hey, if there's anything go on, please let me know. Within the contracts that I've had in TV, when I was looking for different agents to represent me, I went to one of my former players to be able to look at my contract and say, hey, one of my teammates said, hey, can you help me with this contract? Like that's really what happens. And so there is nothing that's better in this world than to be in a huddle and to know that you are all wearing the same uniform on the field and that you're battling for the same goal. Because as we know, a lot of times in the corporate world, it doesn't happen that way.
Right.
We all like to say that we do, right? But in reality, everybody's trying to go and one up one another to try to get to where they could be at the top. But when you have teammates who care about you and push you because it's a very competitive environment, that's truly one of the best places to be. And it also goes forward when you talk about that brotherhood that you have years down the road.
So I'm just leaving Cam's practice this evening, and he got an opportunity to work out with varsity tonight, which was really cool for him as a sixth grader. And they let him work out, and that was exciting to see. And they started out with a 12-minute run.
Mm,
So we got a new hot shot quarterback. He's really good, talented, transferred in, and I'm watching as he's the first person in the 12-minute run, and he's walking around, he's motivating everybody. Um, Talk about and I thought about that, and I thought about Jordan Seaton because
mhm.
as I watched the well off media videos and I watched the Reach the People and I watched the pregame network, I consistently see Jordan Seaton pushing other people, and I think the biggest sign of his leadership has been what he's done personally.
Mhm.
When you see the way he's transformed his body, when you see the way that he's pushing other people, I'm like, okay, Jordan Seaton's on a mission. Can you talk about leadership in a locker room and how important it is for you to be the person that's actually taking your own advice when it comes to leading a locker room?
Yeah, there's a great book by John Maxwell. He talks about the leadership principle of the mirror. And what he says about that is people don't follow what you say, people follow what they see. And
Mhm.
so to see an individual go from 365 to 315, to see
Mm.
all the extra work that he's put in there, to see that he is taking that charge within the group. Do you realize that any of the videos, you never see him the last one? You
Right.
never see him following behind. You always see him leading the pack. Like,
Mhm.
those are the small things that people see. And to be very honest with you, it's easy for him to come in and say, well, I'm a 5-star, right? But I was being recruited. I was the number one offensive tackle. But he doesn't rely on that. What he relies on is his work ethic. And that's the way that you are able to go and develop your voice. People will always follow what they see. They're not going to specifically follow what you say, especially in the game of football. So when you are able to go and show people the way, then other people are just going to follow right behind you. And that's going to help out your team overall.
So we know Jordan Seaton is a tight end, and excuse me, we know Jordan Seaton. I kind of gave away where I'm going
He
with
could
this.
have been a tight end, sure.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
Oh,
But
look here, here's the thing. If I was 315 at tight end, brother, I would have loved it. I was 245 soaking wet, man. And I was looking at these D ends and I was like, so you want me to hit this guy too?
right, and I'm glad you said that because where I was going with Jordan Seaton being a left tackle,
Mhm.
he's got a lot of new faces on that offensive line. You being someone who played tight end at a high level, you did a lot of blocking. You had to be in sync with the right tackle. You had to be in sync wherever you were. Like sometimes the left tackle based on the formation.
Mhm.
How important is it for this offensive line to gel before they're able to kind of show their actual athletic potential? Because yeah, you bring in a lot of guys, and a lot of times we've seen it. High salary rosters in MLB. The Yankees didn't win every year when they were just
Mhm.
blowing away everybody else's salary. Even though they had the most talent, that talent never gelled. So what do you think is like? Walk us through what is like the process of having a leader like Jordan Seaton trying to get everybody around him to gel around his level of play so they can move as a unit, one band, one sound.
Well, one thing, first of all, you're able to be with your coaches now. And
Mhm.
so they won't be with you on the field, but you could be able to go and talk to the coaches. So as a collective group, you should be able to go and meet together with your coaches and understand the different calls. You could be able to look at film. You could be able to draw things up on the board and say, okay, well, we see this, coverage, or when we see this defensive front, what are we going to do? If a guy goes and shades this side, right, from a 3-4 to a 4-3 or whatever it could be, what are we going to do? You should be able to go and talk about it right now. Remember, CU has a new offensive lines coach, right? And then they have several different assistants too, right? Andre Gerard being one of them, who played for the University of Colorado, then played for the Dallas Cowboys. So you have to be able to go and talk through that. Then you go from there to the field. So what happens is, and I don't think a lot of people know about this, but there are those summer workouts that you don't see, where it's just you may be out there with the offense, and yeah, the defense could go a line up, but you're out there on your own. Okay, there's no pads, there's nothing else, right? And that gives you the opportunity, a kind of a simulated walkthrough, to be able to go and say, okay, how can we sync up with one another, right? No, there's not anyone who has an assured spot right now. Obviously, Jordan Seaton probably is one who does, but it does give you an opportunity to say, okay, if we see this front, what are we going to do? Okay. How are we going to go and tag this off to go to somebody else? Like, so for me at tight end, I always look to say, okay, if I'm working with the tackle, okay, how can I take my first step, a 6 inch step, and then work hip to hip with him to then go and punch whatever it's the end, right, with my inside hand, and then go outside and go get that D, not the DM, but the outside linebacker, right? Or,
Mhm.
hey, you're going to go up and get the middle linebacker. How can I go and help you here so that you be able to do so? Or I'm going to seal him off this way, right? And so those are small things that you're able to talk about, because once the pads come on in practice, it's full go. It's not
Mhm.
something where you're saying, hey, we're going to walk through. So those are the small things that you have to work through right now in order for you to be able to go and get ready to go in fall camp. Because always remember this, the defense will always start faster than the offense in fall camp. So
Mhm.
it's very, very important for you to be able to go and gel together as fast as possible, because this is the way that football is now. When you talk about NIL, when you talk about guys being able to graduate, you have to be able to gel as fast as possible. And it's up to the coaches too to find out who the starters are, put together a 5-man group, and let those guys grow together. Yes, you're going to make changes throughout the season, but you need to make sure that you have a group that's together as soon as possible to be able to go and gel together. Then when you put in your tight end, you put in that mix to the group as well, because you could be on the left side, the right side. You could go and serve kind of as a fullback. There's a lot of different things that your tight end is able to do. So you got to make sure that you guys up front are set first before you even add the tight end to that grouping.
The old adage in football is that a tight end is a quarterback's best friend.
Yes, Lord.
This year, you've got Zach Atkins who comes in. He's very athletic. Everybody's excited about him. How can he unlock this offense? Or how does a tight end, from what you saw last year, and everybody knows that the mantra this year for the Colorado Buffaloes offensively is run the ball, regardless if it's Caden Salter or Juju at quarterback. How does the tight end help unlock this offense?
Middle of the field is all yours. When you have a tight end who could be able to be that safety blanket, the middle of the field is wide open always. And I think of guys like Jason Witten. I grew up watching him, Shannon Sharp, another guy too, right? Those guys were so good at beating linebackers, as being able to be, when it's 3rd and 4, you always know, hey, this is where the ball goes, because the shortest pass to complete will always be to your tight end. It's right in front of you generally, right? So you say, hey, let's go a stop route 5 yards right over the middle. Boom, here we go. Because if your linebackers, if they split, you have your tight end right there, catch the rock, turn around, go pick up the first down. Protect the ball, cradle it, and go do what you have to do, right? And so those are different things that you have. I grew up watching guys like Daniel Graham, who was one of the best, honestly, if not the best tight end that ever came from the University of Colorado. And he was just a monster, first of all, as a blocker. I mean, he had a 10-year career in the NFL because he could block his behind off of 1-2 rings with the New England Patriots. But he also was a sure-handed receiver too. And so you want to make sure that when you need a guy to be able to extend those drives, you could go to your big tight end, your big target, to be able to go and catch the rock. And that's why it's so important to have somebody who can be able to do so. Because if you want to run that ball, what's the number one thing you got to do? You got to possess that football. And to continue to possess the football, you run the ball to get yourself to a comfortable 3rd down distance to be able to go pick up those yards, eat up the clock, and get into the end zone.
So I had an interesting thought yesterday on a morning run, and I was thinking that, man, we've seen Jordan Seaton and how good he is in pass protection. But usually when you see athletic left tackles, you don't really talk about their run blocking or road grading as much as you talk about their pass protection. How does the switch from going to a more running offense help a guy like Jordan Seaton, who we know has the athleticism, and that's what has all of the NFL scouts kind of drooling? But man, does that give him kind of a break to say, you know what, just pin your ears back and just go hit somebody? How does this offense affect him?
It's pretty simple. Do you like punching? Like, if you're in a fight, would you like to punch or would you like to block?
Punch.
Punch, right? So when you're going after somebody in the run game, you are literally punching them in many respects. You are going after the defensive lineman. You're going after that linebacker, right? So you're punching first. When you have to go again and sit back in pass protection over and over and over again, yes, you can go and sit back, use your hands and punch right from there. But a lot of times you're taking the contact, right? You're taking a bull rush. You're taking somebody trying to go and dip the shoulder to get outside of you, especially as a tackle. You're taking somebody who's trying to go and figure out a way how to do a spin move or have a cross buck or something like that, right? You're taking all those different things. But when you're able to run that football and you look another man in the eyes and able to put your hands on their chest plate and feel their heartbeat, that's good, right? That's what you're looking for right there. And so that's what Jordan Seaton will be looking to do. And I'll just tell everybody this. Look at the first drive against North Dakota State and look at the left side of the line. And you will see Jordan Seaton literally putting one of those guys to the dirt on the first couple of plays. And that's what really surprised me. I'm like, good God, this guy's just a freshman and he's doing it. It allows you to be aggressive. You want your guys to be aggressive, especially in this run game. And that's why Colorado made the investment in the offensive line that they did. If you're going to start a guy like Caden Salter, who wants to be that dual threat, run around quarterback, then you better go and have that investment done. And if you're going to be a team that wants to possess the football, then you got to be ugly up front. This game against Georgia Tech, and you can put it wherever you want, is going to be a fascinating game because it's the first game of the year and elevation will play a part. We're going to find out who is the more conditioned team immediately, because you're going to
Mm,
have two teams that may be power running. You know, Georgia Tech is going to be a power running team, but
mm.
let's see if Colorado will be that power running team. And if it is, it's going to be some beautiful football, and the game probably will end in like an hour and a half because the clock.
Wow. That's right. No, you're right, man. That's what makes the games go.
Yep.
Let me ask you this about playing in Colorado. So in Georgia, they talk about how humid it is, how hot and how sticky it can be down here around this time of year when guys are starting to put the pads on.
Mhm.
What's it like in late August in Colorado? We always talk about the dry air or thin air and the elevation as well. Heat wise, how does the heat affect players on the field at this time of year or really late August in Colorado?
It's that dry heat. That's really what it is. You don't have the humidity. You just have dry heat, so it feels like the skin is just burning on your body. Especially when you
Mm.
have those practice clothes on. And here's the thing, man. I hate defensive players, man. We used to practice and always have black on while the defense had white jerseys. And I'm like, dude, we got to be in this. Like, I used to leave and I used to have two tones on my arms because one was like, covered up, but it was hot. And the other side, you just had your all skin showing and everything. But what it does is just more heat. But you have to remember what time the games are going to be on. The first
Mm.
game is at 6 o'clock at night. So heat really won't be an issue, especially as the sun starts to set and you have the clouds start to cover over. So that won't be that much of an issue. But the elevation, that's the bad boy right there. That's going to be the equalizer there, or should give the Buffs really the advantage. I mean, I remember we played against Kansas. I think it was in 2005. And one of the guys after the game was like, man, I was good until the second half. And that third
Mm.
hit, that monkey jumped on my back, man, and I couldn't breathe. And I didn't know
Right.
what to do. It's like, yeah, it's a real thing. And we're talking about mid-season in conference play. You have that happen. I love some Georgia boys, but you better be well conditioned when you come up to Boulder, because especially if it's a physical football game like we all think it's going to be, it's going to
Mhm.
touch you up in a different way.
So speaking of being physical, Colorado's just went on a run for linebackers in the recruiting world. You bring in two guys, more size speed guys, and then you get the crown jewel of your class in Rodney Colton, who's from the Atlanta area, right outside of Atlanta and Noonan. Talk about the importance of the linebacker position in this defense and what you've seen from Rob Livingston and how he can utilize these guys, especially Rodney Colton, a blue chip prospect who a lot of people didn't give Colorado a chance to get, and they pulled it out.
Yeah, I have a friend, by the way, who told me a little bit about this recruiting process with Rodney, and he said, he told me, he said, Justin, you know what? See, you found a little bit of extra money, so they're gonna have a nice little present coming their way. And I said, what do you mean present? And then later on in the day, here comes Rodney. So
Oh wow.
blessings right there, right? And so here's just the reality: is that when you have a linebacker who could be able to go and make things happen in the middle of the field, boy, oh boy, it's going to make everything so much better. I mean, just see the change that would happen from CU, and it really started in that Nebraska game last year in the second half. The first half, everything went haywire. Look, it just wasn't your day in the first half. But once you had things settled in the second half, and you had your two linebackers that you really liked, you really see the defense start to change, and honestly, the team start to change. Colorado State had no shot. Then you go get up against Central Florida, where hey, that's a team that is going to run that football. What
Mhm.
happens there? They couldn't run that football. You could talk a bit about the big boys up front. That helped out, but it really was your linebackers being able to go and take care of those gaps in order to keep the running game at a minimum, which did what? It set up your guys on the outside to now lead the Big 12 in sacks. That's how important having those elite linebackers are. They stop the running game, they help you to stop the running game, and then allow your pass rushers to be able to go and attack the quarterback on third down and long. And also, don't forget, too, when you have really good linebackers that can cover, then you take over those drag routes. You don't have to worry about that as much anymore. You can't just have the tight end sit in the middle of the field and you stop routes, right? Even those outs, you can have linebackers to be able to go and undercut those guys. Trust me, as a tight end, I had a lot of linebackers undercut me, okay? But those are the type of things that you're able to do, and you're able to dictate now to the offense when you have those type of elite linebackers. So guys like Roddy Colton Jr. are going to be very, very good and really important in this Buffs defense for years to come.
All right, before we get out of here, I wanted to ask you about, and I think a lot of people have differing opinions on this, and I wanted to get yours.
Yeah.
Colorado took two quarterbacks to Big 12 Media Day, and I'm not sure if that's been done before. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think I've ever seen two quarterbacks go to a media day, and I've never seen a quarterback, a 17-year-old quarterback at a media day, at a preseason media day. What opinion do you have on that whole situation? Not even just the two quarterbacks, but even bringing a 17-year-old Julian Lewis to Big 12 media day. What's your take on that?
It lets me know that Caden Salter rather, needs to make sure that he is ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
If you went into this thinking that the position is yours, that should be a signal for you and to you that you got some work to do. And
Right.
that's the way it should be. This is the first time that we're going to see competition from a Coach Prime led team since since the COVID season. That's the first year that Coach Prime coached at Jackson State. That's the
Mm-hmm.
last year that you're going to have some sort of quarterback controversy or quarterback competition. And so this is just going to push that even more. And you know what that's going to do in the end? That's going to make everybody better, or at least it should make everybody better. But here's the one thing, though, you got to remember this. Caden Salter, you have dual threat. So you have an
Mm-hmm.
offense that's going to be set up in one side, right? Dual threat, more run oriented. Yeah, we'll throw the football, but it's going to be that way, right? But on the other side with Julian Lewis, you have a guy who's more of a pocket passer. He can get out and run
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, but not like Caden Salter. So you're going to have two different offenses that you have to go and prepare for. That's the reason why you have both guys there, is because you never know what you're going to expect. I would imagine that Julian Lewis will get some playing time for sure against teams like Delaware, Wyoming, get his feet wet early on in the season. Because when you have a running quarterback, those guys get injured. And so you
Mm-hmm.
have to make sure that your backup is ready to go. So that's the reason why you have both of those guys there. And you know what? Why not? Why not go and have that experience? Bring a young man there to be able to experience things now so that when it is his time to shine, he's ready to roll.
Man, Justin, it's always fun when we do this. Before we get out of here, where
Sure.
can everybody find you on social media?
Hey, find me on Justin Adams TV. Again, Justin Adams TV, Twitter, Instagram, wherever, man. Hit me up. I hit you right back. And always a blessing to be on. Hey, Justin Adams podcast. We're going to get that rolling as well. Brother, I appreciate you as always for having me on. And let's go and have some fun. Look, I'm excited for this season to
Mm-hmm.
talk not only Colorado Buffaloes, but every sport as well. So it should be a blast. But, brother, before I let you go, I
Okay.
got a question to ask you, okay?
All right.
You down in Atlanta. You're down in Georgia doing your thing, man. I've never been to a SEC game.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know you got the plug for Auburn, you know what I'm saying? And so
Mm-hmm.
what game should I go to? What game do I need to get some tickets for to say, hey, I'm gonna go to this game?
Man, you need to go to Texas, Georgia at Georgia. That's
Ooh.
the one. Texas, Georgia in Athens. If you notice, some of the biggest recruiting battles coming out right now have been Georgia, Texas. Georgia went in and got, I think, a top DB out of Texas. Then Texas goes back and gets the top linebacker in Tyler Atkinson out of Georgia. And
Mhm.
he's been to Georgia. I don't know how many times Tyler Atkinson's been to UGA, but they pull him. And then they go back and get their number one rated defensive lineman out of their class, and they flip him today. So there isn't any there, I guess that the goodwill isn't just overflowing between those two teams. Georgia was able to come out victorious a couple times last year. Texas is basically seeing red, so to speak. And
Mhm.
I can't wait. And that's one game that I would say of all games in the SEC this year that I'm looking forward to. It would have to be Georgia, Texas in Athens.
Wait, so what do you know what day that game is?
I don't know. I had to check it out. Let me see.
Gotta figure that out. Man, you know what we should do? We should do something from there. We'll be able
That'd
to
be cool.
figure out a way how to be able to go to the game. You know, I'll go and sell half of my home to be able to go and afford a ticket, and we'll be able to go to that game for sure.
November 15th. It's late in the season.
Oh
It's
yeah,
gonna be it's gonna be a lot on the line too. Yeah,
oh, you
buddy.
said November 15th. Yeah, we there.
Yeah,
We
for
there,
sure,
man.
man. Can't wait.
Yes, sir. Let's make it happen.
All right, for sure, bro. All right.
All right, bless.